I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today, and this is Capitol Download. We're in the New York City offices of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here.
You have written a new book. It's called All Things Possible, Setbacks and Success in Politics and in Life. Why did you want to write this book?
I wanted to write it for some personal reasons. I found it was personally helpful. The past few years had been such a tumultuous period for me. There's a message in there, Susan, that fits for me in my personal life and for the country by and large when it looks at government, which is don't give up. You may have setbacks. That's what life does to you. Once in a while it knocks you on your rear end. Don't give up. And a government that is as dysfunctional as I've ever seen it, don't give up on that either. You know, that's the only sure way to lose is by just giving up.
You write about the time in 2002 when you had lost your bid for the Democratic nomination for governor. You were facing a difficult divorce. What lessons did you learn from that experience?
You know, so much of life, so many commencement speeches, so many books, it's about victory. It's about winning, right? We talk about winning. We're an American winning society. We leave out that part that while you may be winning, you probably will eventually lose at something. You know, life is going to throw you a curveball. We glorify the successes in society to suggest that they never had a down day. You know, they came out of high school, they went to college, they graduated first in their class, and they were a rocket ship of success. You don't find those models of success. Success tends to be people who lose, and maybe lose several times, but overcome the loss, learn something from the loss, and exhibit the strength to get up off the canvas once they get knocked down. And that's what I went through in my personal life without the guidance, frankly, and without the manual to loss. And I had been very lucky up until then, and I had had a great career. We were in Washington. I was one of the youngest cabinet secretaries ever, HUD secretary. Life was all good. And then bang, life is terrible. And then when you get up, look in the mirror and be honest about what you see in the mirror. And maybe you had nothing to do with this loss. Maybe it was purely the other person's fault. Maybe it was purely circumstantial. But that's not probable. And there was probably something about you or in you that contributed to this loss. And use this as an opportunity to figure that out.
And so, what did you figure out about yourself?
I was in Washington, D.C., and I had been there for 8 years in the Clinton administration, and I just believed I could come back to the state of New York, and I was going to run for governor, and New Yorkers would get it, that I was in government service. But that was a fundamentally wrong calculation. From a New Yorker's point of view, if you were not in New York for 8 years, you didn't exist, you know. I may as well have been on the south of France. It was the first time in my life, between the political loss and then the personal hardship, it was the first time I was really knocked for a loop.
So are you a different person now than you were before that experience?
When I was younger, and it was very important for me to be a success and a political success, and my priorities are sort of inverted now.
Still important to you to be a political success, though.
Yeah, it is, and I work very hard at politics, but if I'm not a political success, I will be okay. And I know I will be okay because I was there already.
Would you be interested one day in running for president?
One of the other lessons I learned, lesson number 487, worry about today. Worry about what you're doing today and tomorrow, and focus on the here and now, and don't play speculative what if and maybe and this, and just do what you're supposed to be doing and do it well.
You're running for re-election, as you said, against Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino. You're Only 20 points ahead, according to the newest Quinnipiac poll. What is the thing you would most like to achieve in a second term?
So overall, it's the economy. It's the economy for this state, and it's the economy for every other state, by the way. Second, our public education system is not working the way it needs to work. This state spends more money per student than any state in the United States. We're dead in the middle of the pack in terms of performance. It's about the students, and we have to do a better job. Those go right up to the top of the list.
One of the things that you do not write about in the book is a current controversy over an anti-corruption panel that you appointed and then was disbanded after about 9 months, the Moreland Commission. This is now the subject of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney here. Are you concerned about that investigation?
No, no. That's really a political dispute. I put together a commission to investigate ethics in the state because I wanted to get a state ethics law passed by the legislature. And I said, when the law is passed, I will disband the commission. I got the law passed. I got 85% of what I wanted passed in the law. Some people say, well, I should have waited for 100%. I didn't get something called public financing, which I support, but the legislature wouldn't pass. And I took the 85% instead of 100%.
I want to ask you about Ebola. Are you concerned that this is going to be a problem in New York, or do you think this is under control?
I am not concerned. Am I wary? Yes. Look, if you have a problem anywhere, the world, the planet has shrunk, right? Somebody sneezes on one side of the planet and we catch a cold in New York, right? So much of life comes through New York. So yes, I am wary of it. We're prepared. We've had drills. We've studied protocols. We've had endless discussions. The administration is mobilized, but not concerned, because part of this is also you have a public responsibility to set the level of concern or anxiety for the public. And if you're not careful, people could get very nervous about this, because it is very frightening on one level. But I don't see any reason for concern in New York.
You know Hillary Clinton well. You knew her when you were working for her husband, when you were the HUD secretary. She's, of course, been served as a senator from New York. Do you think she'd be a good president?
I think she would be good at whatever she does. She's an extraordinarily talented lady. I've worked with her in a number of capacities. And I think she will be good at whatever she does. She has to decide what she wants to do from a myriad of options. But I'm sure she'd be good at president, or, again, whatever she decides to do.
In 2016, whoever the nominee is, what is the task that Democrats face in making their case to voters?
The Democratic case is essentially that government can work, right? The conservative case is basically government doesn't work. That the instrumentality of government is flawed. Not-for-profits work, charities work, but government doesn't work. Democrats in many ways have the burden of proof that the government can function. I take that very seriously here for myself, and in the book I talk about my father's generation. Really the goal for Democrats was articulating the necessity of the pursuit, the righteous pursuit. I think it's a different challenge for my generation, which is, and now prove that you can actually deliver. In Washington, we just went through an extraordinary period of dysfunction of government. Hopefully it changes after the midterms. I'm not all that optimistic. I think that works against the Democrats because government hasn't been working. And as a matter of fact, it's been more infuriating than almost ever before. Ebola, terrorism, ISIL, all going on at once. The nation's economy still isn't where it needs to be, uncertainty. And our only vehicle for fixing it is mired in the muck of tedious personal politics. It's really a frightening time for the country. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the book now. Don't give up. Don't give up. We can work this out. Reasonable minds can still come to compromise and tune out the extremes, because that's what they are. But that, I think the Democrats have to prove their argument, their burden of proof. This government can function, and government can make society a better place. And the negative makes the conservatives' case.
Governor Andrew Cuomo, thanks for joining us on Capitol Download.
Thanks for having me.